Thanks for tuning into Duckbricks and welcome to another LEGO haul video. So this is a massive combination of pretty much everything I've put together in the last month. Some of these are from birthday gifts, some are just the latest June 1st sets, and others are just random stuff I've bought off of Bricklink to check things off my wanted list. I figured that since it's been about a month since I've been building all of these, and I finally had them all together in one place, why not make a video on it before I put them all on the shelves and they disperse across the collection. And so let's dive in right now and take a look at this massive LEGO haul. Let's start off with just what we have at the front here and work our way back. There's no particular order to these sets. I've really just kind of displayed them in the order that I built them, but if you actually are interested in only looking at a few specific things, I do have some timestamps down below so you can check out exactly which sets you wanted to take a closer look at. Without further ado, let's just start right off going through this side of the haul. We have one of the oldest LEGO Classic Space sets. This is one of the original LEGO Classic Space Rovers. I personally found it to be a pretty interesting shaped vehicle. It was probably a little too expensive for what it is. It's a pretty basic build, of course, much like many of the other Classic Space sets, but also like many of the other Classic Space sets, it actually does have some sort of a transformation feature. So you can fully detach this front cockpit, turn it into a spaceship like so. Pretty basic one, nothing too special going on, but you can separate it out, so that's fun. And you also got this lab part, which you can separate out of the back. The one thing that I really was hoping, though, that I was kind of disappointed by is that, unfortunately, you cannot combine these two halves of this transport. Most of the LEGO space sets that do stuff like this actually give you the feature to combine the front to the back, but unfortunately, they just didn't do it for this one. Understandable, maybe it was just difficult to include the right connection points to the right spots, but I feel like they probably could have made it work, and it might have been nicer to actually been able to combine this into a larger spaceship and leave the wheeled part on the ground. But let's roll this off because we have a ton more stuff to get through. This right here is just the latest May 4th LEGO Star Wars GWP. It is a smaller build featuring the Tatooine homestead, which will look great alongside the previous sets from this diorama-like set of series. Moving on, we have a ton of LEGO Brickheadz here. Now these will add to my expanding collection of LEGO Brickheadz. I have a ton of them already, pretty much every single retail release one, and I have even more now. So they actually produced quite a few of these for the LEGO Minions movie. Of course, you got Gru here, but the most interesting one to me is probably this one, the villain from the new Minions movie, Bell Bottom, just because of the way the afro hairpiece is used. I think it's a pretty unique way to build the hairpiece on a Brickheadz character, and it does actually look pretty good. There was actually some pretty interesting building techniques that went into the creation of this figure, so it's probably one of my favorites out of the bunch. Now these were packaged with a ton of minions as well. So over here you got 4 differently shaped Brickheadz minions, and they're okay for what they are, but building them one after another did get repetitive after having 4 of them in a row. Moving on though, speaking of builds getting repetitive after building many of them in a row, we got some of the Ducktales Brickheadz here. These 3, basically the same build, just different colors, much like their minifigures from that one collectible minifigure series of Disney. What's more interesting, though, is that we get Scrooge McDuck and Daisy Duck, just 2 nice builds, and of course, my YouTube channel's name is Duckbricks, so I definitely could not pass up just adding more LEGO ducks to my collection. Moving on here, we have the latest June 1st LEGO Architecture Taj Mahal. So this is a pretty fantastic build. We did get the larger Taj Mahal re-released all the way back in 2017, but this is actually a much nicer upgrade compared to it. Despite being smaller, there's actually a lot more detail packed into this smaller model because it has the benefit of actually being designed with modern pieces. One thing that kind of shocked me, and it's one of the few times an architecture set actually did this, is that you can actually open up the interior. Gently removing the top here can showcase the inner part of the Taj Mahal. So a lot of building went into this whole area here, which you actually can't see from the outside, and even has these slightly off-center details in the center of it there. So really authentic detail all throughout this building. Kind of a shame how most of it, like this nice little piece in the middle, is just completely covered up once you put the roof on. And of course, the larger scale Taj Mahal definitely did not include this. So it's really just something that's there for the building experience, which I think is pretty nice to include. You can see some close-up shots of the Taj Mahal here. Great, excellent detail, maybe a little bit repetitive, especially placing those tiles over and over again, but it definitely looks worth it and looks really good as the final product. Moving on, we just have some other LEGO Minion sets. This was just a pretty standard 4+1. I collect most things LEGO puts out, so even just random small licensed stuff like this, I still do get. And it's nice to see the larger form roller coaster piece being used in the set again, featuring for one of the few times not actually a roller coaster car, but just a standard car to slide down the ramp like so. Moving on from this, we can take a look. This was another free gift with purchase for May 4th. Just the standard LEGO Imperial Shuttle micro build, although this is probably my favorite of all of these tinier polybag builds, and it'll definitely look great alongside my larger collection of large-scale Imperial shuttles from LEGO Star Wars. Moving on, we just get a pretty basic 4+ plane from LEGO Minions. Probably the most interesting thing about this is that the entire bottom is just one chassis piece, which most 4+ sets use, but it's personally my first time I've actually seen one of these in use. We have some more brickheads right behind me. This is the Dalmation or Spotted Dog brickheads. I was actually really surprised at the amount of effort that went into the printing for this model. You get 3 exclusive printed pieces for just 1 brickheads. They of course reuse the 1x1 kind of spotted piece right here, but you also get some head detail with some prints on the top, and some body detail as well, with some prints on a 1x2 brick. A lot of effort in printing going into a model as small and niche as this, so it's pretty interesting to see that going into this brickheads. Moving on from here though, we can take a look at yet more brickheads in a special pack where they were packaged all together. It was Hagrid. This is actually the second time we've gotten a Hagrid brickheads. The first one was in a completely different design and style, a darker brown color, which appeared as a free gift with purchase last year. And we also are getting Harry, Ron, and Hermione for the second time in brickheads form, except they are much smaller because these are meant to depict them with the short legs and much smaller stature. Pretty cute brickheads here, but we can probably move on to stuff that might be a little bit more interesting. Now over here is a classic I've been wanting to get my hands on for a while. This is one of the original LEGO pirate ships. It's not one of the bigger ones, it's actually one of the smaller pirate ships of its era, but it is an extremely rare ship and sometimes can even be more expensive than the much larger vessels, particularly because it uses some pretty exclusive and unique pieces to the set, namely these specialized fabric sails. This was ordered internationally, took quite a while to get here, but I'm so happy to actually have this in my hands. And now, with this and some other ships behind me, I'm literally only missing one large-scale pirate ship, or just minifigure scale pirate ship, to complete my collection of all LEGO pirate vessels. So hopefully I'll be getting that one sometime soon. Moving on to one of the most recent LEGO sets, we have the Friends Apartments. So this was a set that's kind of broken up into 2, arguably 3 different pieces. You can have a hallway section here. They don't actually connect to each other. You just kind of slide that in and they sit next to each other like so. You've got the main apartment right here. Some stuff isn't actually fixed on, so stuff is falling out. For the Ninjago fans in the audience, I will have to say, getting this Doc Brown hairpiece in black is going to be really great for King Vangelis minifigures from Season 13, so really nice to get that. We also get a ton of fancy new recolors in this set as well, in the form of a very realistic wood-colored canoe here, plus a plain white unprinted dog. The detail continues on to the other side of the apartments right here. Completely different color scheme for it, but it's a pretty basic setup. I'm just looking forward to actually displaying this next to the original LEGO Friends idea set, which I've got on the shelf over here. Moving on to the next set here, we have the brand new LEGO Star Wars Viper Probe Droid set. This is probably one of my favorite buildable droid models. I love the amount of detail that's gone into this. It really looks fantastic with all the little arms reaching out, very realistic to the source material, and you can even lift it up out of the stand, which may I add is probably one of the best stands they've done too, with some of the snow detail on the plaque. to actually pose this around and use the center rod to move it like so. It's fully articulated but doesn't feel fragile despite potentially looking fragile. You can really move around the arms any way you want and you're not really in risk of any of them breaking or anything like that. It's pretty sturdy despite appearing to be pretty fragile with the arms like this. But let's put this back in the stand so we can move on to the rest of the sets. Up here is just another LEGO Minion set featuring one of the classic LEGO Ninjago jumping features. This is actually a feature that debuted in 2011 with one of the original Ninjago sets, but clearly if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Pushing this lever will cause someone to be catapulted through the boards here, and it's a very simple function of pressing this down and causing the back panels to flip open. It's a fun feature, and this is probably my favorite of all the Minion sets, particularly because of all of the really nice colors that you get in this model. You actually get multiple different colors of the banana piece in the drum lacquered gold, also in red, and just the standard yellow as well. Plus, even what I think is a recolor in tan, so that's actually a really cool recolor to get, and something that probably is pretty useful for, say, a banana that's been peeled. Moving on from this build, though, which kind of reminds me of the Chinese New Year sets, we have some more Brickheadz. This was another pack that was all packaged together, except these characters are characters we've never actually seen in Brickheadz form before. We have Voldemort, who is a pretty basic one, obviously just a square head, although he does have a bit of a skirt going on in the back. Nagini the Snake, which is a very interesting build to do as a Brickheadz, and one I think turned out pretty well. Plus, probably my favorite of this pack, which is Bellatrix, mostly because of the fantastically detailed hair, which really wraps around the entire head of the figure. Moving on from those, though, there was one more set. We have LEGO Minecraft. This is the snow hideout, I believe. So kind of a funny story behind this. I actually only started collecting LEGO Minecraft sets just last year. And then, as I started getting more, I kind of realized what I was missing out on. And I ended up really enjoying the Minecraft stuff as basically an outlet for LEGO designers to just think up of their own stuff and make some crazy buildings as long as it adheres to the Minecraft style. And so, since last year, I've been trying to 100% complete the Minecraft theme. And I'm actually getting pretty close. This was just another one of the sets that I needed to complete the theme, and it is a pretty basic one. Nothing too crazy going on here. You can fold it open to access the interior, but it's just a basic igloo. I just needed it to 100% complete the Minecraft theme, and I think I only need 2 to 3 sets more so I can before I literally own every Minecraft set. And don't worry, I'll be doing a video showcasing all of them laid out once I get them all. But now let's bring this in a little closer so we can take a look at some of the other stuff behind me. Alright, up next here we have what actually is a custom LEGO model that I purchased the instructions for. I'll be doing a dedicated video on this sometime shortly in the future, so definitely stay tuned for that. But this is a build I have personally been looking forward to making for a very long time. Now, there's a member of the LEGO community, Jason. His username is the Brickstop. I've linked his YouTube channel down in the description below, but what he does is he makes classic revamps of older LEGO castle, pirates, and even space themes. So he basically takes modern sensibilities and modern building techniques and tries to make custom sets based on something that could have been released around that era, but stuff that's probably even a little bit better than the sets that you could have gotten back in the vintage era of LEGO Castle. This is his flagship set. It is one of the largest sets that he has the instructions out for, and let me tell you this, the instructions are definitely worth it, and I've included a link to purchase the instructions down below. You see, when you're building LEGO fan models and mocks, you kind of run the gambit on whether or not it's going to actually be easily decipherable, or if the instructions are going to be filled with errors, or some random steps out of order that you're going to have to try to figure out on your own. And sometimes, while it may look really good in the pictures, once you actually have something in your hands, maybe it could be really fragile, or just doesn't hold itself together all too well. And I've made that mistake with purchasing many mocks in the past. This, however, I will say, is probably the most well-designed mock that I've actually had the pleasure of building in terms of actually approximating a real LEGO set. While reading the instructions, I really felt like I was reading actual LEGO instructions, and they were probably the most high-quality instructions I've seen come out of a fan build, save for the ones that you actually order prints of. This was a blast to build, and I will be uncovering all of its secrets in a future video and showcasing the entire model. So for now, I'll just leave it with a sneak peek of this largest vintage Lego castle I now own. It is a really great build, doesn't even use any base plate or anything. It's just fully built, brick built from the top to the bottom, and it is actually fully modular as well. So you can separate out each section by the use of Technic pins here and there, and actually use them as their own modules, which is really, really cool. This is one of my favorite Lego castle builds ever, and I can't wait to showcase it in a lot more detail in an upcoming video coming out very soon. But let's move aside from this and take a look at some of the stuff behind me. Alright, so moving on to here, we have some Lego Speed Champions sets. Now these are the newest 8-stud wide Speed Champions cars, and I've been really looking forward to getting these because I'm actually putting together a large wall-mounted display for all of the 8-stud wide Speed Champions cars. And these are some of the best they've put out yet. My favorite, honestly, is probably one that isn't even 8 studs wide. It's this dragster here, just because of how unique it is, and it's probably the best built and constructed Lego dragster I've built throughout my entire years of building with Lego. Of course, the cars are nothing to scoff at either, with this one being one of my favorites with the striking color scheme and excellent building techniques, but you also got some really strong hitters with this car right here, as well as the first open-top 8-stud wide convertible-like car, which you can see right here. Of course, I personally am not a car aficionado, so I would not be able to tell you the exact names and models of all these cars, but all that matters to me is that they look good, and boy, do they look really great. For the price of approximately $20 per car, they're not too badly priced either. And if you look at the price per part ratio, they're among the best among Lego's current offerings. Now there is one note here. You might notice that one thing is missing. One of these sets, which was actually probably one of my favorites just by looking at initial images, was unfortunately delayed. I don't really know why this was delayed in the US in particular. For whatever reason, we didn't get it yet. However, at the time this video was recorded, you can actually order that set off of shop.lego.com right now. I dropped down to my local Lego store. They didn't have it in stock, so I just ordered it online, and at this point I'm just waiting for it to come here. Rather than delaying the video just for that one set to come, which Lego shop orders typically take 1 to 2 weeks to arrive at my doorstep in particular, I just figured I'd film the video now and just have that added to the collection at some point later. But all in all, I really love the direction Lego Speed Champions has taken to transform the cars into 8-stud wide offerings, and I'm really excited to see what else comes out of Speed Champions in the future. Moving on from that, we actually have a Lego Friends offering. Now this, it appears, has been split up from the main part of the set, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring it on over here so you can see the entire set all in all. So this set right here is the Lego Friends Amusement Park roller coaster. It is an ocean-themed coaster, so you can actually see that this whole thing is meant to look like a facade of a pirate ship. And there's a lot of really fun details inside that actually pertain to this whole pirate theme. It's basically as close as you'll get to a full-on Lego Friends pirate ship, and it's an amusement park ride at the same time. So I think it's a pretty fun thing. And at least in this case, I can totally excuse it being basically just a facade because that actually makes sense as an amusement park ride. This set also actually came with another set of amusement park related offerings if we move the roller coaster aspect. Now this is a pretty basic build, but it's a pretty fun thing to do as a Lego build. Simply spin the top and you can really get that spinning pretty fast. It's a pretty fun play feature to have as an amusement park Lego build. You also get some assorted side stalls and random prize stuff, which I guess you'd see it in an amusement park, but they don't really do too much for me. Mostly, I got this set because it was on sale on Amazon. It was actually offered as their treasure truck offering for a certain amount of time. They actually had it available for a lower price than usual, so I figured I kind of had my eye on it for a while. It was actually released a while ago, so it was probably going to get discontinued, and I figured, why not just get it right now? Moving on though to something that's actually classic pirates related. Right here we have the final Imperial styled pirate ship I personally was missing from my collection. This was another one, again, I was super excited to get, and I think it's going to pair up really nicely against this other pirate ship that I got here. They're about the same size. The Imperial one is of course a little bit larger, but you can definitely see them going into combat with each other, and I'm really excited to put these all up on my row of pirate ships that I have up on this top ceiling. Again, this was a pretty expensive one on Bricklink. Most of the pirate ships are, and the sails are definitely the hardest and most exclusive parts to come by in sets like these. So I'm pretty happy to get the sails in quite good condition, I will say. Moving on from this though, we can take a look at a bit of a more modern styled LEGO ship. Now, the story behind me acquiring this one is a pretty funny one. This actually came out last year, and while I did get the rest of the LEGO City Divers line, I did feel like this one was a little overpriced, to be honest, for what you get. It comes with this large ship, which is basically the largest city ship they've ever done, and it also comes with this little shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean, kind of just a basic standard build, a new manta ray mold, which was introduced last year, and most importantly, a recolor of the man-eating shark mold introduced for LEGO Pirates. It's been used in Agents, Ultra Agents. A variant was even made for Pirates of the Caribbean, but this is the first time that they've actually printed the bottom and sides of the mouth in this white color to resemble a great white shark. Now, again, the only reason I bought the set was because I attempted to order this off of Bricks and Pieces. It was canceled from my order, and I figured, you know what, I'm trying to collect all the LEGO animals anyways, why not just get the set so I can literally just get the brand new shark? And then lo and behold, I see an email from LEGO Service in my account saying that while the head and body of the shark were canceled, they were actually able to ship me both the body and head combined in their own package, which actually was a different element ID. So essentially, I just given them the wrong element ID for these parts because they essentially are supposed to be packaged together. So as it turns out, I have about 5 more sharks coming to my house right now. They were only about $6 each, so I'm very excited to get those sharks, and thankfully, this one won't be alone now. Moving on from this boat though, we have the newest LEGO Space Shuttle Discovery. Now this is a really cool looking build, and it's probably one of my favorite iterations of the Space Shuttle, if not my favorite iteration that LEGO's ever done. This is pretty much 100% accurate to the actual thing, as close as you can get as a LEGO build, and it's one of my favorite creator expert style or 18+ sets in a while, just because of the subject matter. Now I will say, putting on these reflective stickers was a little tedious, I'm gonna be honest, but the end result looks really great. And what's even cooler is that this whole shuttle included a Hubble Space Telescope as well, which is fully molded in drum lacquered silver. So all these silver parts here are actually the specialized drum lacquered silver color. And that's really cool to me personally. I can't wait to display these all alongside my other LEGO space shuttles and telescopes, and I'm sure they will look great among the stars. The set is also designed to work very nicely with the Ulysses Space Probe, which was a very hard to get VIP-only GWP from earlier this year. It also came with very nice design plaques for each of them, so it's pretty cool to have these as almost UCS or Ultimate Collector Series style sets. And speaking of the Ultimate Collector Series, while this one I don't think technically is part of that series, we have a new version of the buildable LEGO R2-D2. Now, they originally released one all the way back in 2012, and this is a pretty substantial upgrade, introducing some unique features like moving the legs up and down. You get to really retract this third leg in here when you move the legs in the right position. Easier to do it when it's standing up, but you can kind of see what I'm doing. It extends out when it's time for these legs to be deployed, and all in all, this has a lot of really fun features to it. Much like the older one, you've got these little arms that come out from the front of the R2-D2, which you can see right here. But the coolest part about this, and probably one of my favorite parts, at least to me personally, is that the head actually does have quite a few upgrades compared to the original. Moving the back upwards here allows his little telescope to poke out of the top, which is a new feature compared to the original one. And he's also hiding another secret. Popping this top corner off will reveal a small build for Luke's lightsaber, just like it popped out of him during episode 6. All in all, I think this is a pretty good upgrade to the original set. Honestly, I was a little surprised that they didn't make the top of the head more rounded. I would have thought that they would probably have tried to do something a little bit more special with that, but I can see why they chose to do it this way, and it definitely facilitates the action features a lot better. Another older style, Ultimate Collector Series style set is this Boeing 747 jet. Now, it's really the only time LEGO's actually produced a large-scale jet like this, And while the build was a little bit tedious just stacking plates over and over again, the end result I think looks pretty good. And honestly, this is a model that kind of holds up today to some extent. Now personally, I'd been holding off on buying this plane because of how expensive it was on Bricklink, which is why I was so happy to get it for my birthday with these stickers in pretty halfway decent condition as well. Alright, now that the first row of LEGO sets is pretty much completely showcased, let's bring this back again and start looking at the further rows of LEGO builds from this massive haul. Starting off with this side of things right here, the first thing we have is one of the vintage LEGO Robo-Rider sets. This was again a birthday gift to me. It is the final Robo-Rider set I needed to complete the collection. It was a very small space sub-theme, only 4 sets, but this was the largest of them all, and it's a pretty unique and classic styled LEGO build. Of course, you got the windscreen popping up and down right at the front here. You can also move the tail up and down, and even deploy this special jet on the back right here, which is a pretty fun play feature. Sure, the build is pretty rudimentary, and of course we've gotten a lot better LEGO mechs, but these kinda were laying the pavement for LEGO mechs today, and they basically were the first few to be made under LEGO. Of course, this was far before they'd actually developed robust hinges for mechs that we know of today, so you basically have just fixed legs and it rolls on wheels, which I guess is alright, but of course, it's just kind of a fun thing to see how LEGO mechs were made all the way back then, to compare with how they're made today. Moving on from here though, speaking of larger scale buildable LEGO models, this right here is probably one of the most interesting LEGO Harry Potter releases for June 2021. It is a large-scale brick-built figure of Harry Potter himself as a minifigure, and the scale of these is actually quite large. I was honestly pretty surprised to see just how big these were, especially because we've gotten large-scale LEGO figures before, but stuff like Giant Man, where they're maybe about this tall, they're still pretty big, but certainly not anywhere near the scale of this. This you can fully articulate, moving the hands around, arms up and down, head back and forth, and even the legs back and forth as well. Basically, it has the standard articulation that you'd expect from a LEGO minifigure. Now, LEGO, if only you could actually do the cloak that he's wearing as a full-on LEGO piece, that would be an awesome minifigure accessory to produce. The set was a 2-pack between Harry and Hermione, which you can see right here. You got some nice features like the skirt printing around the legs, so it's not a completely identical build, although unfortunately this one can't really turn the head, much like the official LEGO minifigure, because the hair is keeping it fixed, which I find to be a pretty funny detail. Another thing is that they went so authentic when they were making these that if you look at the back of the hair here, there's actually a little groove as if you were sliding it over the back of their cylindrical minifigure head, just like the actual LEGO mold. They definitely didn't need to include that feature because, of course, the hair and the face are basically the same build, but I think it's a pretty cool way to actually show that this was very clearly made off of an official LEGO minifigure. Another large-scale LEGO Harry Potter build is the newest Fox the Phoenix here. It's basically in the same style as the Headwing that they put out just last year with flappable wings. It's a pretty nice build, will look great next to the Headwing, and I honestly am wondering if they'll actually do more sets like this in the future. Although I can't really think of any other creature they can do it with unless they actually went a little bit larger scale and did it for, say, a dragon. Moving on from this though, we can take a look at some more LEGO Harry Potter stuff. Now this is the combination of multiple sets. It is basically the new modular system for LEGO Harry Potter. It is specifically designed to evoke the classic style of LEGO Hogwarts castle sets, particularly the ones from 2001 and 2002, and as such it's very rectangular, especially when I rotate this all around the back, and you can see how it's very boxy in the back, which is both good and bad because you get a lot of play area within this set, but you also do have a lot of just repetitiveness to the outside of the build. Here I've combined the currently available sets in the US. There's actually one more set that will be releasing on August 1st in the US, which I'm still waiting to get here a little bit early, but you can see we've got the Chamber for Fluffy here, Great Hall, Chamber of Secrets, and all sorts of classrooms, and even the girls' bathroom here. One of my favorite things about these sets is that they actually are designed to fully interact with each other. For instance, moving up the sink in the girls' bathroom here can allow minifigures to jump down and enter the Chamber of Secrets, which is actually part of one of the other larger Chamber of Secrets style sets. So the sets are actually fully designed to work together, which I think is really fun. Of course, the front is not going to be nearly as detailed or accurate to the movies as the newest LEGO Harry Potter sets are. From 2018 onwards, they kind of reset the system for these, but I can definitely see why they chose to do it to evoke the older style of LEGO Harry Potter sets. And from what LEGO designers have said, this is not the last time we'll be seeing this system, so I wouldn't be surprised if this wall grows even larger in the future. Moving on here for some smaller Harry Potter offerings, the Hogsmeade Village Visit is our closest thing to a full-on standard style building, especially because it kind of deviates from the typical Hogwarts structure. It has a full interior as well, and these are some really nice buildings to get in LEGO form, especially because for some of these, it's the first time they're ever appearing in the brick form. One of the most unique offerings from this wave of Harry Potter, and I'm being very gentle with this, is the brand new LEGO Harry Potter chess set. This actually has a double purpose because, of course, you can use it as a standard chessboard, but it actually is fully in scale with minifigures to evoke the scene from the first Harry Potter movie with the life-scale wizard's chess. What I love about this set is that it introduces a lot of great recolors. We get the Lord of the Rings style sword in black, the Hobbit style sword in black. We also get some knights' helmets in black and white for the first time from the older vintage LEGO castle lines, and even some miners' helmets in different colors for the first time as well. All in all, a ton of recolors were made for this set in particular, and they look really great. Now, I really want to brick build some Black Falcon Army minifigures, or maybe just some other LEGO castle figures wielding these special black and white weapons. That being said though, this was admittedly a very repetitive build, where you essentially build the same thing over and over again for each character, but that's kind of to be expected when you're getting a chess set. We have what is actually an older LEGO Harry Potter set. This is a set I've been wanting for quite a long time. It is the original Durmstrang Ship. I'm shocked that they actually haven't made a newer version of this. Crossing my fingers, they actually revamped this style of build in the more modern line of Harry Potter, because something like this could probably be done really well today, but as of right now, this is basically the best that we've got. It is quite a good build for its time too. Despite featuring the large one-piece junior style hull, we actually get a pretty substantial LEGO ship. It's certainly a very different look for a pirate ship, of course being based off of the Durmstrang Ship from Harry Potter movies itself, and I think that this is a really nice feature to get. But moving on from this ship, which will be displayed alongside all my other LEGO pirate ships, we can now take a look at some of the stuff behind me. For LEGO Marvel's Shang-Chi, we have the Dragon Great Protector set. The official name is Battle at the Ancient Village, although this is the entire set, so there is no ancient village to be seen. So this is a really great display model, and it looks really good to me. However, when taking it off the base, it probably isn't the best play model in general. Of course, you can articulate it a ton, move every single section up and down, but at that point you can almost kind of articulate it too much, and there's a lot of finicky bits on this build that can very easily fall off. It's clearly meant to be much more of a display model than a play model though, obviously coming with its own stand, and I'm pretty happy with the set being one of the most unique LEGO Marvel offerings we've gotten in a long time. I hope that LEGO continues to do stuff like this, doing stuff out of the box and special for LEGO Marvel movies, especially when a lot of them do actually have pretty unique concepts like this. But with LEGO Marvel, you can't really escape your car chases. So the other Shang-Chi set is basically just a car, 6 stud wide, motorcycles, alright, 2 gun turrets, okay, and a weapon rack. So kind of a combination of a lot of different stuff. I'm gonna be honest, I just got this one for the minifigures. The car is okay enough, but we've seen thousands of car chases in other LEGO themes before, and really, if you remove the Marvel branding, I would honestly believe that this was, say, a LEGO City set, with just the standard LEGO car and 2 motorcycles going alongside it. The final set in this section of the haul here is this vintage LEGO Islanders build. Now I own the much larger LEGO Islanders base style set, so this will look like a very nice complement next to those sets, and I'm honestly very happy to finally get the set because it is one of the last Pirates or Islanders sets that I really needed to complete my collection. This shares a similar feature to the Pirates Skull Island, where you can actually move this whole structure up and let the boat sail through in the middle. Moving on from that, we have one of the most unique LEGO sets ever, in my opinion. Now this is the final showdown from LEGO Spider-Man of all things. It's based off of a climactic scene in the original Raimi Spider-Man movies, which featured a cable car. And as such, is one of the few, if only, times we actually get a cable car, much less a working cable car, in an official LEGO set. And what's super cool about this is that the cable car actually fully functions. Now obviously it's a little jerky because I'm just holding this above the ground, but if I put this down on the ground here, it actually works remarkably well, especially for a set of its time. And it's so satisfying just to move the cable car back and forth slowly, like so, and you can even get it up to pretty high speeds as well without it losing balance. It's such a fun, simple, but very unique play feature for a LEGO set, and of course, while the rest of the build is really just very simple, it's just a standard bridge made up of prefab elements from the LEGO Racers line, I think it's just so cool that an actual cable car function was included in this build, and that makes this probably my favorite original Raimi Spider-Man centered set. Moving on here to one of my custom LEGO builds. This right here is probably something I'll do a video on coming up in the near future. It of course is a Sensei Mosaic. It's a custom build based off of the artwork of a very talented and pretty prominent artist in the LEGO Ninjago community by the name of Joshua Deck. Now he started off as a fan artist, but one of his drawings was actually included within the Ninjago City Garden set, which is so cool to see, and I already made a much larger mosaic based off of his artwork, which you can check out in the video link below. It's the Skybound mosaic, which you can see here. This mosaic, of course, is much smaller. It's basically just the standard mosaic size build, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and you can very clearly see it's supposed to be Sensei Wu even close up. Moving on from this though, which will definitely be going on my wall ASAP, we can now move our attention to a row of classic LEGO castles. The first castle up here is basically one of the most classic castle builds that you can get. It's really just a very similar build to the original LEGO Yellow Castle build, except this was the first time they actually had gray bricks to be able to do it with. Now this, I think, is a really fun build. It's pretty basic, but of course it really captures that classic LEGO castle feel. And it's just another nice one to add to my collection because I am trying to own every single vintage LEGO castle. This one is one of the largest, older style LEGO castles. It can even lower the front gate like so. All string and crank action, so that's pretty cool. And this of course is built on a prefab base plate, much like the classic builds of the past. You get a lot of detail in this whole castle, and probably one of my favorite parts is the inclusion of these special printed yellow windows, which look very authentic to the medieval time period. Again, this is one of the largest and most unique original vintage LEGO castles, and I think it'll look really good next to the much larger version of the castle that I showed at the beginning of this video. And finally, this right here is a set I personally have been wanting to get for a very long time. It is the original Black Falcon's castle, which was so popular it was actually re-released all the way back in 2002, which unfortunately did nothing in terms of lowering the aftermarket price. And despite being one of the smallest LEGO castles, this fetches a very, very high price on the aftermarket, especially with all the figures in good condition like they are here. The Black Falcon faction is one of my favorite LEGO castle factions, and I'm actually building a massive army of modern Black Falcons, so they're probably going to be taking over the Black Knight's castle and stronghold that I showed at the beginning of this video as well. Still, despite many vintage LEGO castles definitely far outdoing this one in terms of style and finesse, I think this has a pretty classic charm to it. And the asymmetrical feel of it with this kind of off-centered window here, we've got the archways and narrow windows on the front, all make it look like a pretty unique offering all in all. So this is probably one of my favorite LEGO castles just for the nostalgia value alone. But we've kind of exhausted this side, so let's turn our attention to the final side of the haul and then wrap things up. One last thing I forgot to mention during the original haul video that I actually put on my shelves already are the newest LEGO Marvel, DC, and Star Wars busts, specifically the Darth Vader right there, Scout Trooper, Venom and Carnage, and Batman. And these are not the only new LEGO busts coming this summer, because we're actually getting some more in the form of the classic 1966 style Batman suit, as well as a few more surprises. Okay, so we were just talking about classic LEGO castle sets, so why not show the final classic castle set I got in this haul. This is a set I've been wanting for a long time. And I know I've said that about many of the sets here, but this one in particular is something that has eluded me for quite some time. It's a very small set. It's the classic Garden Inn, And unfortunately, this is really expensive on Bricklink, mostly because these exclusive red panel pieces really basically only appear in this set and maybe just a few others, if anything. You've also got an exclusive print for the flag signage here, and all in all, that makes this a very pricey set. Now, I actually considered buying just the pieces for this off of Bricklink until I realized that these panels alone are really expensive. So I just figured, why not get the entire set in one go and not have to deal with just getting each and every part off of Bricklink. Now, this, of course, it's very standard, very rudimentary, but it is a very classic styled LEGO build. And one of the reasons why I really like this build is that, of course, it's not actually a castle. Sure, you've got a castle wall built into the side, but really the main feature is the Guarded Inn, which is a very unique subject matter for a LEGO vintage castle line. Now, of course, they would do more stuff like this in the future, but they were few and far between. And again, this is one of the most favorite original vintage LEGO classic sets out there. I'm just happy to finally get my hands on it after all these years of really wanting this set as a model. Moving on from that though, we can take a look at another LEGO castle, although this one is decidedly not classic. So back in 2019, LEGO released a program in partnership with Bricklink called the A-Full Designer Program, which allowed adult fans of LEGO to create their own models and designs to be made into official LEGO sets, but for a very limited quantity and only available through Bricklink itself. This set in particular was the most popular of the lot, and today you can really only get it from Bricklink right now for $700 to $800. Now, I'm not paying that much for something like this despite how good it is, so what I did instead is I pulled up the set inventory and just simply ordered all of the parts I needed to build this off of LEGO's own Bricks and Pieces service. And voila! Here we are. This cost me around $250, so a lot cheaper than I would have paid for it on Bricklink, and about the same price as you would have paid when it first came out, so I'm pretty happy for it. The instructions, though, were another story entirely. Since these were Bricklink A-Full Designer Program sets, the instructions are not actually available as PDFs, but thankfully, some kind soul reverse engineered this model and put it up on stub.io, and I used that building file to make the most of the instructions that came with it. Sure, there were a few suspicious parts left over that I really feel like should have gone in the internal structure of this building, but for all intents and purposes, this is basically what you get from the actual set. So I'm pretty happy enough with this model without having to pay a ridiculous arm and a leg for it. As I've said in other videos, this is pretty much hands down the best quote-unquote official LEGO set castle that's ever come out, and I love this model so much that I'm actually considering buying the pieces and instructions to the official expansion to this castle, also designed by the creator of the castle itself. I'm just happy I also get to own this after missing out on it on the first wave of crowdfunding when it first came out in Bricklink's A-Full Designer Program. Moving on from that, I actually got a second copy of Pirates of Barracuda Bay. Now, the reason I got a second copy of it is because my actual Pirates of Barracuda Bay set is currently in island configuration, which means that while it's a very striking display model, it doesn't actually have the full-on pirate ship look and feel, much less a direct correlation to the original LEGO pirate ship itself, the Black Sea's Barracuda, or the Dark Shark as it was known in several regions. And so, when I got a second copy of this set for my birthday, I certainly wasn't complaining. And rather than returning it and exchanging it, I figured I might as well just also add a second copy to my collection so I can have both the island format and the ship format on display at the same time. This is easily the largest LEGO pirate ship LEGO's ever made, and it will look really great next to the original Black Sea's Barracuda all the way up on my pirate ship shelf. Now, that does leave me with a bit of an awkward problem, because setting the ship aside, this whole bit of island left, which is a nice build, but really you can't do much with this on its own. It's clearly meant to be supporting a different build. So I really don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of this island, to be honest, but I'm sure I'll find some use for it. Moving on from that, we have just one more LEGO Minecraft set. This is another one that I missed out on when it first came out. I mostly just got it for the Wither figure. It is a set appropriately titled The Wither. And I don't know if LEGO is going to make another Wither-styled LEGO Minecraft set, so I figured why not just get this to make sure I actually got the figure. Of course, it's nothing really to write home about. The bridge is pretty basic. It does have an action feature though. Pulling out this block here causes the bridge to collapse, but beyond that, it's nothing really too fancy. And it's definitely something I got just for the figure, or buildable figure, I guess. we can take a look at one of the latest June 1st offerings. This is the fantastic monochrome minifigure pack, Everyone is Awesome. Love the set, love the message behind it, and what I really love about it are the brand new recolors of a ton of fancy new LEGO hairpieces, including a new mold for a hairpiece, which I think is going to be showing up in one of the other future sets of the summer. I wonder if LEGO will make it a tradition to do something Pride-themed every June month for the rest of the years following, and I certainly will not be complaining if they give us even more unique recolors of different styles of LEGO hair. And with that, there's just a few miscellaneous stuff here to finally wrap things up. This is the Spider-Man versus Doc Ock mech. It's a pretty standard LEGO mech battle. We've seen 1,000 of these before, but it's just nice to continue to add them to my collection. I've also got one of the 4+ LEGO Batman sets. Specifically got this for another copy of the Batgirl figure, which I think is a pretty good figure, but all in all, it's a pretty basic set. I will have to say though, it's probably one of the best 4+ or junior style sets I've got in quite a long time, and the Batmobile, for being a 4+ build, isn't half bad. Even the Joker's car is a pretty fun build on its own. Of course, something that's far, far more detailed is this classic 1966 style LEGO Batmobile. This actually originally came, or at least in brick-built form, it came in the original 1966 style Batcave, but this is the first time we're actually getting the Batmobile itself as a standalone vehicle, and I think the price was pretty good for only $30. I'll definitely be putting this up on the wall next to the original LEGO Batmobile from that wave, so it's nice to have both of them to compare them next to each other. Finally, I just got one more LEGO Elves set. Now, when Elves first came out, I'm going to be completely honest, I wasn't entirely sold, and I only got a few of the sets that interested me. That all changed in Elves' second year, which introduced the dragons, and I made sure to get all of the LEGO Elves dragons and all the LEGO Elves sets since then. Unfortunately, that means that I missed out on a few great sets, like this original LEGO Elves Treehouse set, which, after building it, I'm pretty happy I have now, and it certainly will look really good next to all of the other LEGO Elves sets. With this set knocked off my list, I only think I have 2 or 3 Elves sets that I'm actually missing before I actually own the entire series. So I'm looking forward to finally bricklinking those at some point so I can say I own every single LEGO Elves set and put them all in one place together. A very special set here is a set of 3 Ninjago 10th Anniversary LEGO Brickheadz. Now this was a very unique and kind of strange gift with purchase. You see, in the middle of June, you had to buy Ninjago sets from a LEGO store to be able to purchase this set for $10 instead of the original $30, I guess is what they call the set to be valued at. The problem is though, in the US where this promotion was run, there were no new Ninjago sets released on June 1st. And most Ninjago fans who really wanted to get something like this and would be willing to pay extra for it probably already own all the Ninjago sets there are out there. So what I had to do is I had to show up to the LEGO store and get some duplicate Ninjago sets just so I could buy these, and now I have just some extra Ninjago sets sitting in my back room. I don't really know what I'll do with them, so I was kind of forced to purchase like $75 worth of Ninjago sets just to get this. Kind of a strange GWP. To be honest, I also could have just used bricks and pieces to get the parts myself, so I probably shouldn't have opened the box. Yeah, it probably was a pretty good idea to keep this box sealed. Well, it's too late now. I've built them. I'd say they're pretty good. Of course, like the other Brickhead GWPs, none of these actually have exclusive prints. Unfortunately, despite there being a special print for green Brickhead's eyes introduced in the Lloyd Brickheadz from the Ninjago movie from 2017, the eyes on this one are just transparent green, so nothing too special. Again, you could have just gotten these standard LEGO pieces from Bricks and Pieces, but I figured I'd just open the set up to build it myself anyways. And lastly, before we get to these 2 monstrosities here, I do have to address just one set that's kind of been tucked behind me. This is the LEGO Friends Heart Lake Shopping Mall. Now, personally, I don't collect too many LEGO Friends sets. I only get the ones that personally interest me, and this set in particular personally interested me because of one major thing. The first working LEGO escalator in a LEGO set. Now, these pieces actually first appeared in the Ninjago City Garden set, but just as decorative elements, so it was nice to actually see them in action in an actual build for an official set. Now, you're probably wondering, how does the escalator work? Well, turning this crank here can move a figure up or down on the escalator, although, to be honest, when they're getting off or going on, it kind of does look a little bit awkward because it really flings the minifigure forwards, although I don't really know how they could have fixed that. Honestly, the most realistic part of it is that maybe when it's in the middle section here, it really does look like the minifigure is just going up and down on the escalator, and once you get to the bottom, you can kind of take it off and pretend it's walking off the escalator from there. All in all though, I think it's cool to get an official LEGO escalator, and I'm curious to see what other sets they actually show these parts up in, because so far this is really the only use case of it appearing in an official LEGO set. But now it's time to get to the elephants in the room. First off, we have the massive LEGO Daily Bugle Showdown set. This is the largest LEGO Marvel Superheroes set yet, built by a famous LEGO designer, Mark Stafford. It's probably the best Marvel set ever as well. Despite it being a fairly repetitive office building, don't let that fool you because the interior is fully decorated. And you can also get really easy access to the interior just by moving these panels forwards and showcasing all of the designs inside. One of my favorite features about the set is the very excellently done exploding window up on the front here. So this right here includes all of the parts to make it into a standard window, but it captures a fantastic explosion-like feature in still form, which honestly I don't think any other LEGO set has done to this extent. It's a really cool looking and dynamic LEGO build, and I hope that LEGO does this in more LEGO sets because, while being a little bit fragile to be honest, it definitely looks really good. And of course, you open that up to reveal some of the classic interior details of the Daily Bugle as well. This set introduced some fan-favorite Marvel characters in minifigure form for the first time ever. And I've already put them on my wall of Marvel minifigures, which you can see right here. You've got Daredevil, Punisher, even a new Peter Parker figure, a new Gwen Stacy and Ghost Spider minifigure, as well as a host of civilians that populate the Daily Bugle. You also have a new J. Jonah Jameson figure as well with a pretty fun alternate expression, plus some other LEGO heroes from the Spider-Man universe, like Blade, Black Cat, who I guess is both a hero and villain, but I've put her with the heroes for now, as well as Firestar. But then moving on from this building here, it's time to take a look at the final LEGO set in this haul. This is probably what took me one of the longest to build. It is the new, largest LEGO set ever, a map of the world. Let's zoom out so we can see this in all its glory. And here it is, the largest LEGO set ever, for now, the world map. This is the largest mosaic set they've put out. It's the largest number of pieces in any LEGO set, and you can really see why here. Now, surprisingly, they actually included a ton of extra pieces as well, just in case you wanted to customize the oceans. And I'd say there were at least 1,000 or so extra studs left over in this set just purely to customize it yourself. But I'll certainly be using those studs in other LEGO Mosaic projects. This, I think, is a really fun set. My big question now is, where do I even put this? Because I have no idea where I'm going to leave this. But with this aside, we've summed up all of the LEGO sets that I've acquired in this massive LEGO haul. I hope you enjoyed this video. That was a ton to get through, and now I can put all these on the shelves and prepare for the next month of LEGO collecting. Let me know down in the comments below which of these sets I just showed off is your favorite. Do you own any of these sets? And if so, what do you think of them? I hope you enjoyed this video, and as usual, stay tuned to Duckbricks for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses come your way very soon. Thanks so much for tuning into Duckbricks, and bye-bye for now.